What the Sigma?
I was wrong. As most of you know, I've been very outspokenly against Peterbot for years and have never liked him. That being said, I believe that all of my criticisms of him are valid, but my FNCS prediction was not. I accurately predicted a top 10 placement for Batman, Booga, and Rapid, and they got 9th place. I predicted Reed's placement rather accurately, with him doing only slightly better than I expected. I predicted Baka and Pars get close to top 10, and they got 13th. I predicted that Booga and Aviv didn't get top 10, and they got 14th. I predicted that King and Phaser were going to barely miss the top 20, and they got 22nd. I predicted Rise and Ager's exact placement of 16th place. I also perfectly predicted Bolts and Brysax getting 7th place. But one of my predictions was incredibly wrong. In fact, I did not have an official prediction for Peterbot, but I predicted that he would not win the event. Peterbot was in a situation where he was impossible to intelligently predict. Lots of people assumed he would win because he won the last 2 FNCS tournaments, but that is not an intelligent prediction. That's just common sense to assume after somebody won the last 2 tournaments. I try and factor in as many variables as possible to a prediction, and it generally works out well. But with Peterbot, it was different. Peterbot could have gotten any place on the leaderboard, and nobody would have been really all that surprised. Now let me explain why. Peterbot was famous for not being good at LAN events, so him being nervous could have possibly ruined his event. There was no way to really know for sure. He did well at the Esports World Cup, but in a 4v4 game mode with 3 other pros on his team, that didn't prove much. Peterbot was also supposed to be contested by 3 other teams landing on him, and I had predicted that those teams would play smart, but they did not. Obviously, as I mentioned in my last video, nobody wanted Peterbot to win the event except Peterbot. With 3 teams landing on Peter, there was a chance that Peterbot died off spawn every single game and got last place in the tournament. In my opinion, nobody would have been even surprised by this, and nobody would have held it against him either. Being dropped on by 3 other teams is unlucky, and it could have made his placement horrible. I had predicted that these teams would try and contest him and grief his spawn in order to better their own chances of winning, but if I recall correctly, this didn't happen a single time. With 6 other players landing on him, Peterbot could have died off spawn 12 out of 12 games, but he wasn't contested a single time, despite all of the other teams having a golden opportunity. My prediction was definitely a reach, but I hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from with my prediction. I would have had the same prediction for literally anyone else if they were as contested as he was. Being the star player, the one who tons of people expect to win, getting contested would have been insanely entertaining and would have made Peterbot lose the entire tournament, but that did not happen. Peterbot was given the medallion for free every single game, as well as the forecast tower most games as well. He was set up in an incredibly good position, but that is where my second prediction fell flat as well. I had also predicted that if Peterbot was not contested off spawn, he would get jumped on during the mid game and killed, preventing him from making it to the late game. To my surprise, this only actually happened a few times during the entire tournament. Almost every single time that Peterbot was jumped on by another team, him and Poyo, or at least Poyo, would die in the fight, fully griefing Peterbot's game. This happened during the first few games of day 2, but did not continue after that. I'm honestly shocked that it didn't happen more because it was working so well. Peterbot could have easily lost the event if more people had jumped on him during the mid game, but I suppose other players did not want to risk it, so they let Peterbot go. Again, I am truly shocked by this. Typically when a team is in first place, there is a massive target on their back for other teams to want to take them out, and it worked for all the teams that tried it, but it only happened a few times. Even after realizing that they could take him out, teams started leaving Peterbot alone, and that just doesn't make sense to me, but it went directly against my prediction. Also, if you guys want to see my opinions on Fortnite competitive in the game as a whole, make sure you go follow me on Twitter, link is in the description. Either way, with all that being said, I'm not trying to hate on Peterbot, I'm just sharing my predictions and why they ended up being wrong. My predictions largely relied on certain plays being made from other teams that didn't end up happening, but that's okay, Fortnite is a crazy game. Either way, congrats to Peterbot and Poyo for winning, they played very well despite being handed a free win. Now, let's talk to one of Fortnite's best commentary channels and Peterbot Glazers, Kdog, and hear what he has to say about Peterbot winning.
All right, let me real quick break down my predictions on everything to do with Peterbot before the LAN event actually started. If you've never watched me before, I have said that Peterbot is the most talented player Fortnite has ever seen multiple times. And not only just because of that, but as someone who watches like every single tournament and like most of the scrims as well, I knew that nobody was going to really contest Peterbot on his side of the raft. as well as he'd be able to get the forecast tower for completely free because clicks was contested now. But I feel like even if clicks wasn't contested, he would still get the forecast tower relatively for free because of how of all the fights were going between Peterbot and Pollo and clicks and Vino. And any player and duo specifically that is as talented as Peterbot and Pollo are, if you give them a combination of the mythic AUG, the forecast tower, and a scan coin, there would have to be some like generational choke for them to not at least place top 3. And if you've watched any tournament over the past like 3 seasons, it's kind of just dumb to pick against anybody except for Peterbot and Pollo at this point. So that is why I picked them to end up winning the whole tournament, which they did end up proving me right in doing that. And for the whole cheating thing, when there is one person who is just undeniably the best player in the world and it is agreed upon by most of the pros, and when someone is so heavily accused as Peterbot is, there's no way Epic Games hasn't already done their own investigation into him. And at that point, you kind of just have to trust them and believe that he is not cheating. So that is what I did. And clearly I was proven right once again by the insane performances he had at Globals.
Now, that brings up an interesting question. What about Peterbot cheating? As many of you know, I have been saying that Peterbot is a cheater since the very beginning of his career back in Fortnite Chapter 2. Many years ago, I made a short video saying that Peterbot is aimbotting, and since then I have stuck to that platform. I have believed for years that Peterbot cheats, so does this LAN win prove that he isn't cheating? Well, it's honestly more complicated than that. I don't say it enough, but Peterbot is a very good player. He is genuinely mechanically gifted at the game and plays the game very smart in a way that will help him win, even if he has to play like a rat to get there. I don't like his playstyle at all, and I think he relies too much on other teams leaving him alone, but it works well for him and he wins because of it, so good for him. But him being good at the game does not mean that he does not also cheat, or at least cheat sometimes. There have been so many clips throughout the years that look so similar to blatant aimbot that anyone would admit that they are suspicious. But whether or not Peterbot cheats or has cheated in the past, it is clear that he can win a large event without cheating, so props to him. However, being able to win without cheats does not mean that he has never cheated or doesn't sometimes cheat to get a small advantage. Either way, there is no way to know for sure whether or not Peterbot cheats or has ever cheated. I personally believe that Peterbot cheated while getting good at the game in order to gain the advantage on other players. As he got better at the game, he needed them less and less, and now only uses them in select situations to help secure a win, while also being good enough to probably have just won on his own. We have seen some unreal plays from Peterbot, and whether or not you believe that he's ever cheated or not, it is clear that he can win the biggest LAN event of the year without cheats. Unless...
Yo, Rhylek, suck my fucking dick, bro. You're gonna stay poor forever. Yes, sir. I'm on that. Womp, womp, womp.